The summer 2023 Steam NextFest ran through the last week of June, and I have to say, this was hands down the best showing of indie demos we have seen since the demo-focused event kicked off in 2021. Upcoming Souls-like title Lies of P stole the show with both most demo downloads and most playtime logged during the NextFest, but saw its #1 spot in Steam's most unique demo players usurped by House Flipper 2, Playway SA, see me after class, I have some questions for you. But there were hundreds of demos available, and chances are good you missed some real gems that never got close to the front page. Hi gamers, I'm the Indie Detective, indie gaming video contributor for the GeeklyGrind.com, and welcome to the Summer 2023 NextFest Retrospective. I've got a list, I checked it twice, and even though they never broke into the top 10, this group of upcoming games was especially nice. Many of them have extended their demo availability and may still be up, so hop onto Steam, check them out, and drop them a wish list if they sound appealing to you. Oh, and if you're looking for more videos, articles, reviews, and sneak peeks in all things geek culture, whether that's gaming, anime, collectibles, tabletop, conventions, and more, check out the geeklygrind.com, follow us on our media's social, links in the description, and click those like and subscribe buttons real subtle like for me. Alright, let's get started. Now, here's a handful of demos that didn't even break into the top 50 most downloaded during the NextFest. We're gonna get going with BioSynthetica. BioSynthetica is an apocalyptic retro adventure game where you play as a newly awakened robot in search of your creator. It features turn-based combat against a variety of creepy creatures, emphasizing strategy to take advantage of enemy status effects to deal extra damage, and a fatality-style finishing move that is unique to each enemy type. It also has a scavenging and crafting system, a fully voice-acted script, and a little ginger kitty cat. This next title is Fatherhood. If you ever played the scenarios for this war of mine, you probably remember the heartbreaking chapter where you play as a single father watching after his sick daughter in the middle of a devastating civil war. Fatherhood has a similar premise. Your characters are Basir and his daughter Ozma, who are trapped inside of a conflict zone in the Middle East. There's an added wrinkle that Ozma is blinded by an explosion, resources are scarce, the world is full of morality decisions to test you, and everybody is a little quick on the trigger. It's a civil war, I mean, can you blame them? Maybe it's a truism that the most provocative war commentary games all have to be in a 2.5D side-scroller, throw Valiant Hearts and Warsaw into the mix. It might be difficult to remember that when this war of mine launched 9 years ago, its bleak and often upsetting gameplay came with the backdrop of the Russian annexation of Crimea. That was 2014, can you believe that? Fatherhood is set to remind us that these stories are still unfolding in places like Syria and Yemen. For Western audiences who don't see a lot of news about the ongoing civil wars in the Middle East anymore, hopefully Fatherhood will give us an overdue emotional kick in the pants. Okay, content warning. This next one is rough. I'm giving you a heads up now that it contains some pretty trigger-worthy torture and mutilation content. Here's 5 seconds to pause the video and find the time code for the next game in the video description. And if you didn't find it by now, God have mercy on your soul. This game is the Kindeman Remedy. The idea of a disgraced mad doctor has been retold in film and literature to the point of being a pretty tired trope. Ditto that for the kindly nurse who turns out to be an angel of death. We don't usually get to play as the doctor who believes that almost any end justifies the means. The Kindeman Remedy is a story-driven management game, which has you seeking medical remedies by experimenting on condemned prisoners. In the demo, you get to prep daily medications for prisoners, poison a good number of them, and perform gruesome, mercifully off-screen acts of torture on a death row inmate. I'm not opposed to games forcing difficult, even disgusting morality choices on players. Right now I'm in the middle of replaying Tyranny from Obsidian Games, where your basic binary choice is between enslaving people and burning them in their homes. I think that's a good game because it's self-aware of making you uncomfortable, but not self-indulgent in making evil seem attractive. The Kindeman Remedy has a premise that's morbidly interesting in the same way that Graveyard Keeper was, making clandestine use of corpses to do devilish deeds, but I can already tell this is going to be a really controversial release. Is torture and mutilation any less gruesome when done to felons? Are you any less Dr. Mengele because all your subjects are adult men? Maybe there's a reason why the trope always casts sadists as the bad guy. When this game launches, I'm going to play a bit for you guys to determine whether it's self-aware of its evilness or self-indulgent in it. I'll take the risk of sounding a little virtue signaling here, but if it's the latter, and if it makes light of torture without repercussions, I'm going to recommend a hard pass. Moving on to game number 4, at number 34 in the most unique players during the fest is Bellwright. This title has seen a lot of attention from game reviewers over the last couple weeks. Bellwright is an open-world medieval RPG by Donkey Crew, the same studio that worked on the PvPvE survival game Last Oasis. It rightfully draws a lot of comparisons to Medieval Dynasty for its village building and management mechanics, but its attention to detail and animations give it a much cleaner look. It also looks like it pulls some of the campaign inspiration from upcoming game Manor Lords, with the ultimate goal of being to raise warbands to conquer lands from opposing factions. It does have some frame rate and asset loading issues in its demo build, and the voiceover is, pretty accented Polish, but it's very pretty and it has a load of promise. Just be aware that you have to run around a lot, and early combat isn't super intuitive, unless you're specifically familiar with Last Oasis, or actually it's really similar to the directional attack system from the Mount and Blade games, or like Chivalry. Bellwright is definitely worth keeping your eye on, but with one caveat. If you do any kind of looking into Donkey Crew's development history, their record is a little bit shady. If you want some insight from a Last Oasis player, I can recommend this concise little video from For the Boys. I found it a little clickbaity with its title, calling this an obvious scam, but personally I have high hopes, simply because the demo that they gave us would itself have been a sweet little indie game if it launched tomorrow. The mechanics to expand this game are clearly there. It looks beautiful. They just need to expand the map a little bit and add more content. I'll definitely be doing more content on Bellwright in the future, so nudge nudge, hint hint, wink wink, sub to the channel. I'll keep you updated on it. Alright, I'm going to move on to the next game before I get a little too self-indulgent here. This one is Back to the Dawn. These next two titles are actually a little loosely related because they're both prison games. Actually, snap, that makes 3 prison games because we already did the Kindeman Remedy. But these two games have pretty wildly different settings. Okay, so starting with Back to the Dawn, number 21 on Steam's most unique players list during the NextFest, we're in a contemporary prison right out of HBO's Oz. Sorry if that's too old of a reference for you there. That was like the late 90s, early 2000s. But the prison is filled with cute, furry little inmates from across the animal kingdom. Oh, so cuddly. You have the option to either play as a journalist fox who was framed for a crime after digging too deep into a story of public malfeasance, or you can play as a panther who got himself convicted to follow a mission of vengeance. The demo gives you 3 days to do menial labor, navigate prison politics, and get an idea of how to perform your great escape, if you don't freeze in your bunk first, or starve, or get pummeled into a pulp by another inmate. There's lots to explore in the demo. The NPCs all seem to have interesting backstories, and there's actually like a bunch of mini-games to kind of break up your normal gameplay. It's pretty neat. It plays like if Zootopia had a baby with Bear and Breakfast. Very cozy, nice colorful palette. But then that baby got a healthy dose of nihilism and some RNG mechanics from Disco Elysium, and then got landed in Shawshank for a crime it didn't commit. It's not like cozy games, right? It's like hardcore cozy. It's hard cozy. Cozy core. It's IronFuzz. Having multiple playable characters with their own goals and drives means you'll need to game the prison system in different ways. I see a lot of replayability here. The devs have even promised to give us more playable characters in the future. I think this is going to be a game not just to pick up on a sale. This is going to be like a replayable title you'll want to get on launch day. Oofta, voice cracking there, and I'm only on game 5 on the list. The next prison politics game on the list is Space Prison, in which you play a prisoner in a prison in space. Seems pretty self-explanatory. It didn't quite scratch the top 50, but I definitely recommend giving the demo a try if it's still up. Space Prison has a prison gang hierarchy system, and if you want to survive, you have to gain clout and work your way up the ranks. Calling your cell a duty pit when you first move in is kind of like calling a corpse a bad conversationalist. It's not wrong, but it really fails to capture how dutylicious the pit is. You have to beat people up, smuggle things in your prison pocket, let's call it, befriend space rats, and I guess also eventually other prisoners, and become the strongest scumbag in the system. I mean, I don't think they explicitly say you're smuggling things in your bum, but really, where else could it be? Christopher Walken, where else could it be? Both Space Prison and Back to the Dawn have a lot in common. The gangs can be both allies and enemies. You scavenge contraband, make your cell livable, exist in a corrupt system, and interact with a huge cast of unique NPCs. They were both really great demos. I recommend you give both of them a wish list and keep your eye on them in the future. Okay, here's a huge genre pivot for you, away from the kind of strategy, survival, simulator stuff. Okay, so, do you remember Red Strings Club? That was a masterpiece. I'm not usually a visual novel guy. That was a good game. I enjoyed NeoCab, but they didn't make me say yes, I need this visual novel now. But what if it wasn't a visual novel, but a visual musical? An interactive Broadway blockbuster that was like Hades, taking place in The Wolf Among Us, and written by the narrative lead from Dragon Age? What? Your character finds herself in the wrong place at the right time and inherits the power of a murdered muse. Having a minor god die in your arms kind of looks suspicious, so you have to discover the true culprit and clear your name, otherwise the Greek pantheon's gonna come down on you like Vulcan's hammer. That's the one, not Thor, whatever. Vulcan, he's the Greek one. And you have to do the whole thing in song! The storyline and the musical numbers change based on your choices and moral reactions, and I love the idea that you never experience the same musical twice. The demo is down for now, sorry, but I need you to wishlist this game since it super got the shaft by having its launch day be August the 3rd, and Larian Studios, God bless them, slapped the launch day for Baldur's Gate right on top of Poor Stray Gods, the role-playing musical. So please, 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 please go look at this. Give it a wish list so that it can get up to the front page and not just get smashed by Larian. I love Larian. Guys, you're doing great, but this poor little indie game, it deserves a lot more attention. It looks really good. Let's move on. Okay, so this next game is Norland. Over the last year, there have been a lot of adaptations on the Rimworld formula, using random events to generate stories between semi-autonomous player characters. In its simplicity, it's kind of a mind-boggling take on the Rimworld formula. It basically asks hey, what if 90% of the people on the screen really don't matter at all? You command a noble family directly, a la Rimworld, but everyone else in your feudal society are all autonomous NPCs interacting with the realm you build. Your nobles build relationships with each other, so that'll be kind of the familiar Rimworld situation. And they build relationships with other families of nobles and neighboring realms, those far more distant. You wage war, diplomacy, spycraft, and trade through your nobles. But ultimately, you need to make your kingdom capable of dealing with an endgame crisis, which means making it livable for your NPCs. Because all the peasants, clergy, and merchants act independently, the map is full of energy and life, but it doesn't seem to require a great deal of micromanagement, which I think is going to be a huge win here. This might be a tall order for the developers, because it means there's going to be a lot of background stuff going on, you know what I mean? If the commoners start doing things in a way that conflicts with your personal vision as a player, it's going to be really frustrating. I'm definitely going to give this a launch day purchase, just to see if they can pull off this minor programming miracle. If they can, this might even replace Rimworld, let's be honest, as a great realm management game. Enough said. The end. Next one, Jumplight Odyssey. So, management games, right? Management games. Yeah, I'm talking about them again. They always seem to appear dirty and bleak, or they always go hyper-realistic. They don't have to, right? Sometimes they can be adorable and bleak. Coming in just under Back to the Dawn at number 22 on the list, Jumplight Odyssey is a starship management game, probably closest in relation to Space Haven, but it's set in a story arc right out of FTL, or I guess Battlestar Galactica if you're not a huge gamer. You have a gutted starship and you're fleeing from the tyrannical Admiral Voltan and his fleet of Zootopans. And you're under the command of Buzz Lightyear. Just kidding. It kind of fits the formula, but you're under the command of Princess Euphora, the last surviving member of the royal family. You're traveling across a roguelike, procedurally generated chain of star systems, building your crew and facilities as you go. What really stands out to me is the complexity of the simulation on the ship. You have the ability to cut off gravity to different compartments and, funnel air out of them, open airlocks to get rid of fires and, flush out undesirable elements. Just vent them to space. You also can help drive relationships, like you're playing the Space Sims, but with violence. and manage your resourcing operations. The demo for Jumplight was among the most popular during the NextFest. I think that owes a lot to its 80s anime aesthetic. I mean, it's basically like nostalgia hormone go brr, right? Anyway, it's really good looking. The simulation looks really good. I think it's going to be great keeping you on your toes because you're always trying to run away from the enemy fleet before they jump you, and so you're never going to be able to get everything you want done. So yeah, I'd say it's worth a look out, and it's going to be a buy for me. So yeah, hey, we've got one more game on the list here. You want to finish up the list? Let's do this last little bit of the list here. This is actually like a really nice little simple game. It's called Station to Station. I mean, we all know the term sandbox, right, when it comes to games. But you know what? I didn't grow up with sandboxes in my house. We had a toy box. We had a nice little toy box, and I love me a good toy box game. Station to Station as a toy box game kind of rattled me. It reached number 13 on the list, despite it being kind of a cutesy little indie game. And it's a tiny scale railroad building game set in the age of steam. It's got charming little voxel towns and trains. It's so cute. It makes me want to curl up with a cup of tea and a lap cat. Most railroad games encourage sprawling and complex logistics systems with realistic signaling and gridirons and supply systems to keep your trains running. Station to Station doesn't do any of that. It spins strategy gold from simplicity straw. You build reward combos by connecting several stations to a destination station, and your combo goes up if you can get multiple resources to that destination by placing a single last bit of track. So it makes you kind of crank those mental gears to strategize whether you can pay for all those new lines before you get your huge payout all at once. You also have to make sure you don't accidentally block off a supply station or a section of track, which would require expensive rerouting. You can't delete things. You have to go all the way around them. It's kind of neat. It makes your brain kind of work over time in a way that you wouldn't expect a cute, simple little game like this to do. In addition to that, as you connect stations, the map blooms with color and life in a serotonin-stroking wave heretofore epitomized only by Terra Nil. I don't know if you can tell, but this cute little game is doing things to me, man. It's a lovely combination of, I guess, like Dwarf Romantic. If you haven't played that, it's a really cute game, very pretty and colorful. And then it combines the best elements of my favorite underappreciated railroad game, Jan Zeleni's Mashinki. It's just, I have to stop here. I'm getting all flustered over a railroad game. Middle-aged guy on the internet, again, can't help myself. Whew, okay, anyway, well, that rounds out my top 10, the Indie Detectives top 10 demos that you might have missed during the Steam NextFest Summer 2023. It's not going to be another probably 5 months until we see another NextFest, right before the winter sale. So I hope that you found some demos in here that you missed during the NextFest but still look good to you. Go check some of these things out, slap them down wish lists and follows. It helps all of them in their marketing efforts. They all have Twitter pages. Go let them know that you like them and that you saw their game from me. I mean, that helps make me look good. Anyway, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Hi, I'm the Indie Detective. This is the end of the video. Go check out the geeklygrind.com. It's where I do all these videos for. And they have lots of other stuff like anime and tabletop and comics and collectibles and conventions and role-playing games and all things geekly. It's a great place. The end? Bye.